everyone, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ethan.
And welcome to Game on Board Game, a channel where we talk about board games and do fun games and challenges based on our love for them.
In this video, we're back with another monthly recap. Hopefully, if you've been following along with our channel, you're aware that throughout the course of this year, 2025, we are attempting a challenge to play every single board game in our collection. And as part of that, we've been doing these videos where we talk about everything that we were able to check off that list during the course of each month. This is going to be our March wrap-up. And we were able to play 20 games total this month, which was our biggest one yet.
Yes.
And really helped our numbers out because basically if you do all kind of the math and work out the average, with the size of our collection, it came down to us needing to play around 11 games per month to be on track. So with the 20 from March, that brings our total for the year so far to, I believe, 44, which basically actually earns us like an entire sort of like freebie month that we're ahead of schedule. So pretty good.
That is good.
Yeah, we'll have to see how April shakes up, but
yeah.
This was also an interesting month because a lot of the games we actually knocked out in a single day.
So we participated in the Foster-the-Gameathon through Foster the Maple. If you haven't seen our video on that, please go check it out. But
if those sound like nonsense words to you, it will all be explained.
Great.
But go check that out.
But that was a 24-hour gameathon where, there was a whole bunch of challenges, and one of those challenges was to play 10 games in a day. So we actually knocked a lot of games out that day.
Yep. So we have 10 games that weren't played during the Foster-the-Gameathon game day that we did, and we're just going to kind of share our thoughts and experiences playing these. Quick little wrap-up for each of them.
Yes.
Okay. What do you want to start with?
I think let's start with, our biggest one. This was also, I think, the first one of the month. I'm not positive, but
maybe.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, these aren't in any certain order or anything, just kind of pulling them off the stacks that we have in front of us, so. Mansions of Madness.
Yes, second edition, specifically. Mansions of Madness is a game based in the, Arkham horror realm, the H.P. Lovecraft realm.
Yeah, the Cthulhu mythos.
Yes, and essentially you are playing as investigators. You're trying to solve some sort of mystery that's going on in the town, and there are different pieces to the board that are getting added. So you sort of build a mansion throughout the game as you're building the pieces, and throughout the game, different monsters come out, and you have to try to defeat them. And there's certain objectives. You have to try to search for clues and get so many clues to try to solve a mystery.
And you don't really know what the goal or endpoint of the mystery is when you start. It's not given to you as an initial objective. You kind of have to discover things as you go along. So it's like you're piecing the puzzle together in that way, which is really cool.
Yes.
It's also an app-based game.
It is, yep.
So there's a really great narration aspect that gives you a little bit of intro story at the beginning. Really sets the mood. There's ambient music throughout to just kind of make it feel a little bit creepy and spooky, and maybe you're actually exploring a haunted house or something like that. Definitely adds to the experience.
Yes, absolutely. And this playthrough, so we actually did play it twice, but we played it for the first time ever with an additional person.
Yes.
So our friend Tony came over and he played Mansions with us. And we had an interesting play of it because he ended up going insane, I think it was, right? Twice.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, you get an alternate end card, essentially, that tells you some sort of victory for yourself. So you have to not just win the normal way, but there's some sort of alternate way to win. And we actually didn't know, but apparently one of the cards is a traitor card, and so he turned the tables on us and totally just made us lose the game.
The cosmic horror got to him.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, honestly, yeah, as soon as he pulled that card, it was the next round that he was able to achieve his alternate objective, and it just ended in a very anticlimactic fashion.
Yes.
So that's why we
very climatic, because it was just very intense. We were just shocked. So we were also super
it's just
close
wait,
to,
it's done?
Yeah, what just happened?
Yeah.
We also were very close to I think finishing the game for the first time ever. For that round. So there are different for that scenario, right? Yeah. So there's different scenarios. We have beat the first one before, but the second one we were really struggling to beat. So
yeah, this is a game we've played a bunch of times, and we've just been beating our head against the wall trying to accomplish specifically the escape from Innsmouth scenario.
Yes.
Which after playing it a number of times, we went online and looked and heard from a lot of people that it's very challenging to accomplish it 2 players because you're limited on how many actions and how much movement you can get across the board to actually like find all the clues and accomplish everything you need to do within the given time limit. So that's why we wanted to bring somebody else in. And as Ashley mentioned, I think with that third player, we were able to get the furthest through it that we've gotten, and maybe would have pulled it off, except obviously
that happened.
insanity, cosmic horror, yeah.
Yeah.
But so since we got so close, Ashley and I did try it again. After that, once we had Tony leave, and we decided to play two-handed each. So we each grabbed two investigators, basically doubled our actions available, and with that, we were able to pull it off finally.
Yes.
We also discovered that we were not actually as close as we thought in the first round. There was quite a bit more to it. It felt like it was wrapping up, but no, I don't know that we would have gotten there now that I think about it a little more.
Right. And the game like sort of has its own timer in it, and every single time you play the scenario, it doesn't exactly play the same. So there may be like characters in different places, and so we kind of tried to, because we had just done it, tried to repeat some things that we were like, oh wait, no, that moves it around now too. So
that's the one nice
have to change things.
The perk of the app is they can give you a variable experience that, you know, different enemies will spawn at different points in time and different locations. They'll have different like health levels, things like that. Different bystanders or, you know, NPCs throughout the game might tell you different information depending on like which version of it you get, or how the app chooses to randomize it, I should say. But overall, you love Mansions, right?
I do.
Did it feel good to finally beat Escape from Innocence?
Oh, it sure did.
Yeah.
We've tried this multiple times, and we're getting very frustrated with it. So,
Great.
Yeah. And also just to, like, figure out the rest of the story, too.
Right. So this base core box comes with 3 scenarios total, I believe, possibly 4, but at least 3. And I know we've also tried the third one once or twice before in the past, also without succeeding. Now I think that'll definitely be our main objective next time we pull this out. I don't remember the name of that one, but it seemed pretty cool. You were like collecting these like sigils back in a house versus like a whole town, like the intimate setting is. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love investigating the different places and sort of seeing like the map kind of come alive as you're playing. You know, it sort of starts a lot smaller and then you build off of it and get to see inside the mansion more, but also outside the mansion. And I love that like the app does give you the ability to change it. So I really enjoy that about it. How do you feel about it after, you know, playing it and finally beating that one?
I had a good time playing it. I usually do enjoy it when we pull it out. It's not that easy, as you know, for me to like want to pull it out because the app is like a resistance point for me. I don't love that being a part of my like board gaming experience, I guess, in general. And I've tried to keep us from getting like too many other app-based games as a whole. But this one does a good job for what it is. You know, it's just like, that's not my preferred tabletop experience.
Sure.
So, but Mansions is cool. Again, if you followed this channel at all, you know how much I love Arkham Horror, the card game.
Right.
This doesn't compare to me to that for me in any sort of way. You know, it gives me a completely different sort of experience, but the theming of it still comes through, and I think that's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Great.
All right, this one's gonna get top billing up here.
Okay.
Let's move on to another big highlight of the month, I think.
All right.
Spirit Island.
Yes.
This is a cooperative game where you're playing as asymmetrical spirits that each have their own powers, and each deck of like card abilities that they're playing. You're trying to prevent an island board from being overtaken by colonizers coming in.
Yeah, you're essentially trying to eliminate the invaders that are coming in before they take over the entire island. That's sort of the main goal.
Yeah, it's a classic like crisis management style game, like Pandemic or something.
Except very different from it.
A lot more involved.
Yes. Much more involved.
A pretty heavy, thinky, crunchy game. Very popular. I think it's in the top 10 or close to it on BGG. So
we do have Spirit Island, like the base game, and we also have Jagged Earth. So we did play with those together.
This we also played 2 games of. And I actually think you used base game characters for the first time in a while.
I did,
and I used new ones. This is a game we both really, really enjoy. It's like a top contender for the 2 of us. It also doesn't hit the table a ton, at least not compared to how it used to, which is a shame. I think if we ever did like a 10 by 10 challenge for the year or something, instead of like a widespread one, this would be like a perfect contender for something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's just a lot of different variation within this box to explore, right? You can use different adversaries to increase the challenge level and get a little more like variation on like how the game is playing against you and stuff, changes some of the default rules. Obviously the spirits themselves are variable, but you can even use like different aspects with some of the like base simpler ones that originally came in the box to switch those up and get a different experience. the scenarios are something we haven't even like tried yet.
Yeah, there's so
you
much.
You get a lot of bang for your buck.
Right. There is so much involved in like the actual game itself, and like I feel like we've actually played it like quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of our higher played games, but I feel like we've still kind of scratched the surface of it. Like I feel like there's a lot more that you could dive into with it. Yeah. Which is fun.
I had gotten through most of this box, except for the scenarios, because I play this solo, or at least I used to back in the day quite a bit. But since Jagged Earth, I think there are still probably at least 3 or 4 of the spirits that come in that I haven't even played yet.
I think I've hit all of them or pretty close to it.
Maybe.
That one, but.
Yeah. But this go around, you played in our first game, I think, a spread of Rampant Green, and then our second one, Ocean's Hungry Grasp.
Right.
I played in the first game Shroud of Silent Mist or something it's called like that, and then Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble. And I've heard a lot of people like naysay the second one because he has a very random play style where you're kind of just flipping cards off the top of the deck and seeing what you get. I really enjoyed it though. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think.
And maybe I just saw the good side of variance, but like he kind of crushed it as well.
Yeah, no, you did very well with
that. As far as crushing it though, I guess it's worth mentioning. Usually when we play this game, we do use adversaries. And I think we've worked through like 2 complete levels of that in the base game, and we had been the last time we played, I want to say going through Russia, maybe gotten up to like level 4 or so. But this time played it pretty normal. We hadn't done that in a while. It was just nice to get like a cleaner, simpler experience without as much like mental overhead. The adversary is definitely like you really have to think and like pay attention to make sure you don't miss stuff. So it was just like cozy, peaceful Spirit Island, honestly.
Yeah.
Without that,
Yeah, it was.
It was a cozy gaming.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great one. It's one that, like I said, I think we've played quite a bit and still will, pull it out and always enjoy it when we play it. So, honestly, I'm itching to play it again. I feel like every time I play it, it just makes me want to play it more and more.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
That's
a great game.
For sure.
Yes, I think for both of us.
Any last thoughts?
No. Yeah. Great game. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Dead of Winter. Now, I specifically have...
So I'm just going to hold on to it.
Yeah. I specifically have the Dead of Winter, The Long Night, which is the standalone second box for Dead of Winter. We do have both of them. And we have played Dead of Winter, the base game, so many times. It's one of our top play games for sure. This was actually our first play of The Long Night, so I did just grab this box for now.
You'd had your eye on this for a long time and just wanted to find like a deal at some point, which you figured you would because it's a bit of an older game now, and I don't even know which the preferred edition out of the 2, honestly.
Right. But we actually got it used though, which was...
Well, I was going to say, for years, you've been looking and it's just like never seemed to be a good deal, and finally,
Yeah, I love a good deal, just in general. But this hobby can be expensive, right? So
we got this, around Christmas time, but this was the first time we actually busted out The Long Night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dead of Winter in general is another crisis management sort of game. Every round there's going to be more and more zombies spawning at the different locations that you're playing at, and you're just trying to either like deal with them or maybe like hunt around for certain types of items or just like survive a number of rounds and everything like that. Yeah, again, so it's cooperative. It's
essentially like Walking Dead, the board game.
Yeah.
So you are either having to like go to different locations to get items to help you survive, or you are trying to defeat zombies. And something that I just love about Den of Winter is that this also feels like it's a different play every time. There's different objectives for each of the games that you can play, and they also tell you like how long they are, which I really appreciate. So there's also options for like if you want a short game, a medium game, or a long game.
There's also options if you want like more extreme challenge mode for each of the objectives. They're like 2-sided.
And like I said, I mean, we've played the base Dead of Winter so many times. Definitely one of our most played games. I've also played it solo, even though it's not a solo game. But I've just basically played it with 2 characters to start.
So what's different about this version then?
So this one has like more different like objectives and scenarios to be able to play through. It also has some different characters, and there are different like modules you can do. So like we did a tool-based one.
Yes.
Where you're crafting certain objects, and you have to find certain tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, I forget the exact name of it, but there's 3 total modules overall.
Right.
one of them seems pretty involved. The other two fairly minor as far as like actually tweaking the game goes. To me, it feels like in general this box is just like a more variation or like a 1.5 version of the game, where they just kind of maybe like fine-tuned some of the like character abilities, gave you a little bit better production with like sturdier boards and stuff like that. You know, just kind of almost like a reprint or revised version of the same thing where they threw a little bit extra at you.
Right. And the interesting thing too is that like this is a standalone game, but you can actually combine the base game with this game if you want to, and you can combine all of the characters and the zombies and all of that. I am really excited to try the other like modules. I think that those will be really fun, but I also think like we've played all of the objectives probably several times in the base one. I just kind of wanted some variation to it and just to be able to add a little bit more to Dead of Winter because I love Dead of Winter.
So for this one, since we didn't know what to expect with our first game and we did incorporate one of the modules, we went with, I think, like a medium length but easier side objective, which we're used to doing the more extreme ones, so we had like a very easy game of it.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. Like, it felt like there were like never zombies around, basically.
Super easy.
Which isn't really what you want out of Dead of Winter, honestly. It's more fun when it's kind of tense.
Could also be just that, like, because we've played the base game so much, we have some good strategies down for it, too.
This is great as a two-player game for us, but also as a multiplayer game because it has another betrayer type of mechanic.
Betrayer aspect,
Each player will typically have a secret objective they need to achieve in addition to the overall general one for the whole team. And at some point...
There could be a betrayer among you, or there could not. Yeah. So when you shuffle in the cards, you are told to shuffle in like so many betrayer cards for how many players you have. And you don't know if you have a betrayer or not. And often you don't find out until like the end of the game when someone betrays you all of a sudden. Because if you're a betrayer, you know, right off the bat, you can also get voted like out and be exiled by the rest of the players. So you do have
still
to
get to keep playing.
Yeah, you're crafty and sneaky.
Exiled from the colony where everyone else is doing stuff, When we play it two-player, though, we don't use the betrayal aspect. We'll do like our own secret objectives and stuff still, but just make sure that we're not going to turn on each other because we just want the co-op experience.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun both ways, and I think we've played this at least 3 times, maybe 4, with more people. Yeah.
Sure.
And I think every time there has been a betrayer. I don't know that we've had one happen where there wasn't.
I know it's been me multiple times.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good betrayer.
Yes.
I never get.
But you just like don't end up betraying anybody. You're just
I try
like,
to wait till the last minute
waste.
and then
I don't want to like upset anybody. Basically, you're too nice to be a betrayer.
One of the best things about Dead of Winter that you didn't touch on though is a crossroads game. You probably can't see that at the bottom here, but the title I believe of the original was Dead of Winter: A Crossroads Game, and what that means is there's sort of this deck of like thematic story cards that you're going to be pulling during each player's turn, and you read a little caveat at the beginning that's basically like a triggering condition that says, you know, if something happens, then you end up reading this card, and there'll be a story event that plays out, and sometimes it requires a vote from all the players, or sometimes it's just, whoever got the card on their given turn gives kind of like a thumbs up or thumbs down about it. Sometimes things just happen. It might be based on like which characters are in the game or which locations you're at, but it just creates like, I don't know, more unique and more immersive gameplay.
Right. And it also adds a story aspect to it, even more so. I mean, I think it's extremely thematic to begin with, and you get to read a story before you start. But also it just, really adds to the story. Yeah,
we have a lot of these sort of like crisis management co-op games, and we like a lot of them. And, it's a style that we kind of got into very early in the hobby and really latched onto. And so, like, compared to something like, I don't know, Horrified, for example, like, I really like that this has that extra level to it.
Yeah.
It's almost like going from, like, Pandemic to Pandemic Legacy, where there is that, like, story involved, something like that. So, it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next up, Everdell, specifically Farshore, which, again, is a standalone version to the original base game of Everdell, which we haven't actually ever played.
No.
For as popular and sort of gateway classic as it is.
Yes.
But as far as I know, it's similar to this in the sense it's a card-driven worker placement game themed around cute animals in a woodland forest, or in this case, sort of a coastal beach setting. Yep.
Essentially, you are building yourself like
building a
tableau of 15 cards.
Yes.
Yep. And you only have 15 slots to fill, so you have to kind of choose your cards carefully. But depending on the cards that you choose, you can kind of get like certain You're going for like certain shapes or objects, and then based on that, you can achieve different goals. So there's a lot of different like ways to gain points, but essentially whoever gains the most points at the end is going to win. So you can get points off the actual cards in your tableau. You can get it off the different separate objectives that you can achieve. And then there's also like your boat moves, and you can get these like treasure tokens, and there's a lot of different ways to gain those.
Yep. Plays over like 4 rounds, 4 seasons.
And you get like only, I think, 2 it's a worker placement game too. So you get 2 workers to start, and then you get like an additional one each season.
Yep.
But your options of what you can do are very, very limited. And again, you like only have 15 cards you can play down in your tableau, which that's if you even get to 15 cards. So it is very like, I think, thinky. You have to
in fact,
plan ahead.
Halfway through the rounds, or the seasons, I should say, some of the worker placement spots are no longer available even to limit you even more. But hopefully at that point you'll build out your cards where maybe some of those have places you can put people as well. There's all different types of cards, but some do offer you other worker placement options that are only available to you, which is cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So you really like this.
I do, yes.
Right. Not as much as any of the ones we've talked about, I don't think, so far.
Yeah, but I do really like it. This is also one that we got a year ago, maybe. It's not. We haven't had it quite as long as some of the other ones. Sure. So some of the other ones we've mentioned, we've actually had for several years.
I'm a lot more medium on this one.
Yes.
It's fine. But I honestly think Ashley is like essentially a mermaid. So when she saw the Farshore like water coastal version of this, like, you know, that was the one to go with for sure. Yeah. I feel like the original one in the woods would speak to me more, although there are so many expansions for that at this point. And I know certain people say, oh, like, this one's good in these circumstances, that one's good in these circumstances. I wouldn't want to go near any of those probably because I'm just not a big expansion guy in general. And maybe the original one of that isn't as satisfying because, again, I think this is sort of like a tweaked, revised, like 2.0 in a sense.
Right.
People say that, you know, if you're only going to get one, like, this is the one to get.
Yeah.
That's cool, but I'd be more into the, like, cute woodsy animals myself, I think.
Sure. My other thought though is that like we have several like cute woodsy animal ones. Yeah. So this one was kind of like a fun, different kind of spin, and the water theme.
Okay, this is still cutesy animals. They're just not woodland, you know, or whatever.
Sure. And I like these ones better, but
that's kind of where I land on this game. Is Ashley has, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these sort of like mid to lightweight worker placement based games that are themed around cute animals. You know, Creature Comforts, Flamecraft, Honey Buzz, Everdell,
Cascadia.
That's not a worker placement game.
Sure. I just meant like an animal game.
More things like that. And so this one isn't a big standout to me. I don't even know if it would be like my favorite or preferred out of that list. But we just have so much of it that I'm like, okay, you know, pick like a couple that are your favorite. And
I do think this one plays differently, especially with the tableau building, and I don't know.
I mean, they're all slightly unique, but
yeah. I will say though, like because we've never played Everdell, it was very difficult to learn this game off the rulebook. So whenever we like learn games, I always learn games off the rulebook, and Ethan likes to watch videos. Really, both. When we tried to look up the video and like read the rulebook, we actually did both for this game, and they just kept saying like, just refer back to like Everdell. Yes. So the fact that we didn't know Everdell very well, I feel like took us a little bit to understand how to play this one. So I do think like having the, you know, even though they're like, oh yeah, this is like, you could get this and it's a standalone, like they did not make the rule book that way, which I would say is a negative for it. Yeah. Because if you haven't played Everdell, it's like, you're going to have to.
It's assuming there's a frame of reference.
Yes.
To like work off of and say like, this is what's different about this one compared to what you're used to. And
right.
It's like, okay, well, we don't have that frame of reference, so.
Yeah, so we did have to look up like some Everdell like base rules to figure out how to play the game a little bit.
In fact, the first time we played this last summer, which maybe is what soured me on it to the, you know, for everything that I'm saying now, is that I completely missed you can only have 15 cards part of the game. Which again, if you played Everdell, like that's the whole gimmick apparently, but I didn't know that. So I was just like, the first season just like going off.
You did watch a video. Apparently the video skipped that. I don't know.
I could have missed it too. You know, I'm not trying to blame you about that for the teacher or the video maker or whoever, but just like, I was very disappointed to be going into like the third round and be like, I can't play any more cards. So
yeah,
that was not a good way to experience Everdell for the first time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this one. I would recommend this one. We haven't played the base one, so I don't know. I think, would we recommend one over the other? I don't know. I mean, this one, like I said, the theme speaks to me, so that's why I like this one a lot.
It seems like the production's a big perk as well for a lot of people. All the resources in this, which include like squishy mushrooms, nice seashell tiles. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the
seaweed. I love the seaweed.
Yeah, like
little
soft, squishy seaweed,
wood,
metal anchors, stuff like that. I think they're metal, at least pretty close. They have an okay weight to them, at least.
Yeah.
And then this unnecessary like tree.
It's a lighthouse.
Okay.
It's a lighthouse.
But anyway, I think you're paying for that when you buy this game as well. This is another one that we got an okay deal on, thankfully, but I think it normally retails for like $80 or $90, and it's not like that heavy a game to usually warrant that level.
I think it's less than that.
Okay.
For this one,
I mean, maybe
sure.
That was when it was like brand new or something, but
yeah.
You don't need a lot of that stuff. Like, it does add to the experience, and I know the squishy berries from the original game are an appeal for people and everything as well. But,
I love the pieces. I really like the seaweed. I think that's my favorite.
I would say
the squishy mushrooms are cool too.
Yeah. No, I think seaweed.
Seaweed.
Or maybe the
seaweed's
seashells.
Pretty cool. Yeah, the seashells are.
Last time we played, I got a lot of my points from the seashells, so I was collecting them, stacking those up because those are just like.
So that's why they're your
points.
favorite.
Sure. I think I won this one too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. When I'm not even like into a game that much and I can pull off the win, hell yeah. All right, what's next?
Let's do this one.
A tiny one. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go small. So we did play Tussie Mussie. I think this is only one of 2 button shies maybe we played this month.
If you've seen our previous monthly recaps, we always talk about the button shies in there. Eventually we'll run out of them for the year, but for now, still got a few left, and this was one of the first ones that you got, actually.
It was. I think it was actually the very first.
Maybe.
Basically, you're playing cards down, and you are selecting cards like for you, and you're selecting cards to give to the other person, to offer to the other person.
It's basically a variation of I split, you choose.
Yeah.
You're giving one card face up and one face down.
Right, and so the person can choose whether they want the face up or the face down card.
Or the mystery box.
Yes. And you play 3 rounds, and whoever has the most points after 3 rounds wins.
Obviously, there's a little more to it than that, but it's a pretty quick, simple card game. Every button shy game, 18 card, wallet-sized game.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And this one, it's just kind of pretty. It's just you're giving each other flowers, and you're building a bouquet and some keepsakes, and you get points based off of different things that match in those, but it's very hard to, I think, kind of get things to work well because you don't know what the other person is offering you in the face down cards. And then the face up cards, it's like, does this work well with what I have? Does it not? Or like some things like you need so many in your keepsakes, which are the face down cards, versus you need so many in your bouquet. Or you need like certain cards next to one another, certain colors next to one another.
Yep.
So it's super interesting. I think, did you beat me at this?
I don't think I've ever won this one because it's just like, to me, it feels very random chance.
I was thinking you beat me like just this once, but I've definitely beat you every other time.
Like, if I played this against somebody who isn't like in my head the way you are, would I be able to get them? I don't know, but it seems like you always do the exact opposite of what I want you to do when I'm like putting this one face down or this one face up and stuff, and it just never works out, and it feels like, okay, well, how was I supposed to predict that?
Yeah,
it's usually pretty close.
Sure.
Right, and I do enjoy it. I'm not trying to like trash it right now or anything, but there's an uncontrollable element to it that tends to not work out in my favor. That's all.
Yes.
I think in general, for button shy fans, this one's pretty popular though.
Yes.
One of their best sellers. I think it gets a lot of fanfare in particular because it's actually designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan. Did you even know that?
I did not know that.
Okay. Well, now you do. That's cool. It's hard to compare these little button shy games to like the collection at large when they are such like a specific kind of like smaller scale experience that they offer. Although there's a lot of uniqueness, I think that they're an awesome company making awesome games. But like compared to the other ones that we have, where's this one rank for you kind of in general?
The other button shies we have?
Yeah. Like overall, is this like a top 3 button shy or something?
I don't know. It might be like kind of in the middle, maybe.
And we have probably around 10 now, maybe. But some that we haven't played yet, a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a little bit higher up than maybe some others, but I don't know that I would put it in like my top ones.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just like not one of my absolute favorites, I think.
I'd agree.
Maybe I'll have to like rank the button shies at some point.
Yeah, could be something.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Dreadful Meadows.
Yes.
So this was a new to us game. Got it around holidays. Finally busted it out. But first time play, you were the one who learned this one.
Right.
Taught it to me. I think you did a good teach, but I'm going to be honest and just like lead off with saying I don't really know what I think about this after just one play. I really was kind of left scratching my head on, is it a good game? Did I enjoy it? It was just like, that was something. And I feel like I need to play it more and kind of feel it out a little bit. But what's going on in this game?
So basically you're playing as some sort of character who is a confectioner. So they're creating like different candies basically.
Yep.
And you are trying to like purchase the different candies and like you're laying out different tiles. Yep.
So
and you want to try
building
to
again.
match the tiles like to the same color. And then like you will gain candies off of those tiles essentially.
It's hard to explain it.
It is, yeah. And you have like just kind of two options. You can kind of like purchase something and play it down, or you can like activate those. I think there's like a couple options actually. And then there's different like spirits that you can put out, and they will help you to like activate those tiles to like get more candy. You're trying to get to just whoever gets the most points basically at the end of the game.
Yes, but notably at the end of the game, there are different conditions that can trigger it.
Right.
Which is one of the things that really kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool concept, and we have some other games that are like that. But these particular ones and how they play into the decision space of what you're choosing to do on your turn and stuff was very interesting. Because the tiles that you're building out, you're pulling those out of a bag and sort of like replenishing a general area that you can like choose which ones you want to purchase from.
Right.
So every time you purchase, you're replenishing from the bag. One of the conditions is when the bag runs out, that's the end of the game.
Right.
There are also these harvesters that you can, they were very expensive to purchase and add onto your board, but they give you a lot of value if you can. And clearly it's intended that you're going to get like some amount of them going. Because
they trigger like more tiles, yeah.
Yep. But another end condition is when there's only one harvester left available to be purchased for the group. And then I also want to say that there are basically scoring cards that you can pay resources for, and if that deck of cards runs out because you've scored them all, I think I could be making that up, but I want to say that that's a game end condition.
Yes.
So,
I think like we were both just like resistant to wanting to end the game too, because we were like wanting to keep playing and feel like I don't know, we were getting the things we wanted to get. So
if you can like avoid or kind of string one of those aspects along, you have the opportunity to build up more of a board, get more cards, get more resources, accumulate more points, but of course you're giving the other players opportunities to do that as well.
Right.
And you don't know if on their turn they're going to decide to just get that last harvester and then all of a sudden it's done and maybe your, plan ended up only being half developed or something. Or maybe sometimes certain games you would want to like rush to an end if you get off to like a really strong start or something like that.
True.
Again, off one play, it's kind of hard to tell how that really goes, but in ours it was like we were vocalizing. We were saying like, should we end it? Or like,
right. Yeah, we were both kind of debating at that point, like if we wanted to end it or not. I kind of agree. I mean, I feel like I really need to play this one again. We played this like right before the 24-hour Gameathon, and then we played so many games all at once. So, or right after it, right? Did we play it after?
I think after.
Yeah, I think it was like a day or two after, but.
Another thing that I thought was a little weird is that the 4 confectioner characters that you could play as have a power, which is not unusual in games, but these powers felt strong.
Really powerful, yes.
Right. I don't know if it was the 2 that we got that are just like unbalanced with the other 2. I don't want to assume that. I just think that they are made to be powerful enough that they really steer your strategy.
Yes.
Right? A lot of the times it's like you get a little extra tweak onto something or whatever that really doesn't like have an overall impact that much. It just gives you like a little bit extra juice. But this one felt like you want to go hard on whatever your person can do.
Yes.
And almost make that aspect of the game like kind of broken.
Yes.
Which was just also kind of weird, because like especially for a first play, like maybe if there was like a base version where you didn't have a power and you could kind of like feel out the game and what the balance of each of these different elements and aspects is supposed to be before you throw off that balance by having this really strong power or something, you know, to lean into.
Yeah.
Like if we played it again, I assume we would try the other two that we didn't use yet.
Or just switch which ones we did or whatever.
Like
but
that.
I do feel like that it, as a first play too, like it really did, like you said, like it changed your strategy, but also it sort of changed the gameplay in general. At least like mine did, because I was like getting more spirits out and calling them back faster and things like that. And so I feel like if we played again, I'd forget that that's not a thing you can do.
Sure.
Or that was like a special ability.
Yeah.
I do think like if they had maybe like a base way to play this without having those powers, that might be helpful, or maybe we just ignore them or something for another play. But
it's not like it overcomplicates it or anything where you need an intro game. This is not a super heavy game by any means, or like really complicated or like unfamiliar. We've played a lot of games. This should be like perfectly manageable for us and everything, you know. But it just was like,
yeah,
just something off.
Yeah, like his gave him the ability to buy like cards basically for free, and like the tiles basically for free, and I was like really struggling to get money to be able to buy them. Yet I was able to activate the candy much faster than you were, so and get the candy back, and I could choose like any ability to activate off of my tiles.
Yours is specifically, normally you're limited by what tiles you have and which tiles you have available to put workers on. You could just make them do anything. So
it did feel like it sort of like they almost like broke the game. Like the powers were that powerful. I mean, obviously they designed it that way, right? But it was just very interesting how powerful they were. I do think this one, like, it was pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it. I just think, like, I definitely need to play it again.
Like I said, it left me scratching my head. So I guess there's a bit of curiosity there, but not in a way that I'm, like, super eager to figure out either. Where I'm just like, we gotta try that again. Like, I'm sure we will at some point, but I'm not, like, itching for it. It wasn't, like, that sort of stimulation, you know, like sometimes you're like, oh, again, like I get it now. This was like the opposite.
Well, and honestly, like I am very much like, I always want to replay games again for the most part, and I didn't want to replay this one, which I don't know if that was just because I think it was the day after the 24-hour Gameathon, and I was just like, I don't know, my brain was mush at that point from playing so many games, but I think it felt like, it was like breaking my brain, but like in a different way. So, very interesting.
Pop it back there. I'm
I'll have to play it again.
Draftosaurus.
Yeah.
Family weight game.
Yeah.
It's honestly really good.
It is. It's great. So we have played this like with some kids too, and they usually like it as well. But basically you are drafting dinosaurs into a dinosaur park, and you're building a dinosaur park, and you get different points for how your dinosaurs go together. There is actually like quite a bit of strategy to it, and I think if you're playing with like actual gamers, like you can be a lot more crafty about it. We've played it also with like my niece and nephew, and
with gamers.
And I think that it is just, it hits kind of for everybody. And the concept is like not that hard. Like there's certain paddocks.
It's literally just a drafting game.
Yeah, you roll a die and you get to see like where you get to put your dinosaur on which side of the board, basically.
There's certain limitations to it. But
right. And then like certain ones want all of the same dinosaur, or they want pairs of dinosaurs, or one by itself, or all different dinosaurs. So the concept of it is actually pretty easy, which is nice because it's family weight. You kind of explain it to like children and they can understand it, but it's also, Ethan and I got pretty competitive over it when we did it. So basically you're drawing out like so many dinosaurs into your hand. You look at the ones that you have, take one that you want, and then you pass the rest to the next person. When you play with less people, you also pull out one that you like take out as well, and just that one's not available to them.
Yeah, so what you're touching on is this is, again, very different at two players, which is how we mostly play it, although we have done it with plenty of others.
Yeah, I love this one.
I know, yeah, you do.
It's a great one. It's
for
also
what it
just,
is, it's hard to imagine.
Fast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes. It's
quick, simple, easy, but still delivers for what you're expecting out of it.
Yes.
So
honestly, I would highly recommend it if you're ever looking for a kid game. Or just like a quick game in general. It's just a fast, easy, quick game that you can do.
yeah. The Lord of the Rings adventure book game. So in our January, I believe, recap, we talked about another game in this series themed around the Princess Bride versus the Lord of the Rings. But an adventure book game is essentially literally a board that opens like a storybook with multiple different chapters that you flip through.
Yeah, so the board is actually a book, and it is the Lord of the Rings story. So you get to play through, and each chapter of the book is part of the story from Lord of the Rings. And you like literally get a different board for each separate chapter, and you play through the different objectives on each level. And the great thing too is that like you can do this all in one sitting if you want to. It would be a lot and a very long game if you did that. But you can also like do it in several settings.
That's fair.
We've played this. I think, what did we play so far? 4 chapters of this one.
Well, I think we've played this.
We've definitely played all the way through
twice before.
Yeah.
For this go around for the yearly challenge, I think we played 3 or 4 of the 8 scenarios in this box. The Princess Bride one that we did previously only has 6. This is obviously a little longer because of the epicness of Lord of the Rings.
And it's about 20 minutes for each chapter. So like the chapters themselves don't take long. It's very quick and easy and fast to do. You can play with 1 to 4 players, and it really doesn't change the gameplay too much if you're playing it with more or less people either.
This is also, I would say, another very like family-friendly game. Not a kids game specifically, the way like Draftosaurus is or whatever, but this is, lightweight, accessible IP, relatable theme. Where does it rank for you compared to Princess Bride?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a tough question because there's different factors at play, right?
Yes. So Princess Bride we've had like way longer, and we've played it a lot more, and we just have like this nostalgic factor to it. We even played the Princess Bride adventure book game the night before our wedding.
There's a romantic aspect to it for us because of that story and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Right,
so I just
as much
I
as we've kind of
that
outgrown
one.
it over the years, like it's something I would never get rid of, or
it's great.
It's always fun to play it out. We even just play it like in bed a lot because it's easy enough, like setup wise, to do and everything.
It's like reading a book before bed, except it's a board game.
This game has more going on for sure, without it being
like
too involved or anything. For sure, it is more scenarios. It is, I would say, more challenging to succeed at the scenarios. It feels like they definitely like leveled it up. And I love Lord of the Rings. So, like, in general, other than the Princess Bride associations we have, like, this would be a theme that is, like, super up my alley. So, I mean, it's something where, like, they both have a lot to offer, right? In different sort of ways. Yeah.
I think the Princess Bride one feels, like, a lot just cozier and easier to me, too. Like, it's just, like, less thinking, and I don't know. I mean, partly I think that's because we just know it so well that, like, we can play it in our sleep at this point. But also just, like, each chapter that you have has different objectives and different setup and things like that. And the Princess Bride one is like fairly straightforward, I feel like, for each of them, so it doesn't take that much to like get the setup going. The Lord of the Rings, they kind of like change up some of the aspects a little bit more, and I think the setup is a little bit more intense, and so is the gameplay to achieve your objectives. So I think that is a little bit more thinky, and so I guess like it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm kind of just in like more of a cozy mood, then I would pick like the Princess Bride one.
You have to play tighter for this one.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's kind of what you're getting at. Princess Bride, you could pull out. It's pretty rare that we're going to like fail any of those challenges.
Yeah.
Something would like really have to go wrong, like terrible draws from the deck or whatever.
There's always one chapter that like is the hard one to get through. And then once we get past that one, we're good.
But this one, it's like you're on the edge of your seat still. Just like you got to make tight plays, basically, like I said.
Yeah. And I think even actually when we played it this time, we had to replay one of the chapters because we did not succeed at it.
Sure.
So
the other thing that maybe makes you feel like that is there is this sort of like impending doom mechanic where there's one of the things I added is this like ring or like Sauron type of track where you have to do set collection. If you can see down here, there are these different like colors of cards, and you're going to use those in order to like achieve certain objectives and to be able to move your characters around and stuff. This introduced like wild cards in the form of one ring cards, but every time you use one of them, you have to advance the Sauron track. And if that gets to the end throughout the course of the 8 scenarios, because it's cumulative, it doesn't like reset in between games or anything, that's game over.
Right.
So we are always at all costs trying to avoid like ever using ring cards.
Yes.
And some of these scenarios are like tough enough that you
You
really
have to.
have to use one, you know?
But you have to like be very sparingly using them.
But I think that feeling of just knowing like, are we going to be able to eke it out without a ring card or not? Or like, are we down to the wire? Like that creates, like I said, a bit of impending doom.
Yes, that was a very different aspect of this one.
Yeah.
What about you? Where does this one rank for you?
I mean, if I had to only do one, I would still do The Princess Bride. But this one's still great. This is, you know, an awesome theme. I do like that it ramped it up. You know, it's a little more like appropriate for us at this point in our gaming career and everything. If I was going to recommend ones blind to somebody, I would recommend this one. You know, definitely.
Sure.
But
I would probably say just whatever theme speaks to you.
Sure.
There's also a Wizard of Oz one, which we will play later on.
Yeah, you'll hear more about that, and then I'll give my real rankings. And
Sure. But yeah, I mean, this one's great. I enjoy it, and I really just like the adventure books. I think that they're super fun, that you're playing through like a storybook, and that's
unique.
The actual board is a book.
And
We're
like-
both readers, which also like just you know helps as well.
All right, only 2 left. Let's talk Castles of Burgundy. Classic beige Euro game.
Yep.
Very highly rated. Well, I shouldn't actually say that because there's the Awakened Realms special edition that came out a couple years ago where the game got a major glow up. A lot of extra special features and everything like that, right?
Basically to make it look prettier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this game deserves. People love and adore this game. I've heard so much about it. I couldn't wait to get our hands on it as well after like that version came out, even though we went with the simpler one here. Well, I guess let me tell the story of the game, right?
Sure.
So this is something that had caught my eye and been on like sort of my want to play list for a long time, and it was not speaking to Ashley like at all.
Correct.
So we were in game stores over and over again where I was kind of like, you know, pulling it off the shelf and feeling it out. We just like never pulled the trigger basically. Eventually I found out that one of our friends has the original version, this being the second version, but the first one from I think 2011, and he let us borrow it. So we took it home and played it, and I think that I had really high expectations of just thinking like this is going to be probably like one of my favorite games ever. I've heard so much about it. It seems awesome. It seems right up my alley. You again, not that interested. But we played it in total probably about half a dozen times when we borrowed it. And I think while you were maybe like lukewarm after the very first game, after that point for each one, I think it just kind of went like up and up and up for you to the point that you saw the greatness, right?
Yeah.
You're pretty into it now at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really, really liked it, but maybe not quite as much as I was expecting. I think this is awesome, but it just doesn't have that extra something, at least at this point, that like makes my heart sing, you know? I wouldn't give it an S tier. I'd give it like very, very top of like A. Like a great game.
I mean, I would say it's an A as well.
Yeah, and that's a good review coming from me if you know how I kind of like to do my ratings and stuff. But after we gave that game back, we were debating, do we want to shell out for like the really good version? Because we liked it enough that we knew we wanted to get a hold of it finally. Like I was able to sell Ashley on it after wanting it for a long time. But this one seemed more than sufficient to us, right? This is a dice drafting, I guess, dice placement kind of game. I don't know.
You're rolling your dice and you're playing your dice out to essentially play different tiles on your board, and you're filling up your board with different types of tiles. So there's like building tiles and animal tiles and mine tiles, ship tiles, and they all kind of give you special abilities, and then they also give you points, and whoever gets the most points at the end of the game wins, basically.
A lot of games work like that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I do really enjoy playing it. I'm glad that, like, we had the ability to play this before buying it, too. And I think, like,
we should take that approach with more games, honestly.
Sure.
You know, try before you buy.
You can't always do that. But
Yeah, you can't always, but, like...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can. I do think also just, like, in general with our collection, it's rare that we really don't just buy, like, the big collection versions of things, right? Like, we have Wingspan, but we have the base Wingspan.
Yep.
And I mean, they were out. We talked about them, but like Everdell, like we could have bought the whole collection, right? And we just didn't do that. I think that we're just.
I don't remember talking about that.
Well,
I'm with you in theory.
Sure. But I
And
think
honestly,
like
this second edition does actually have some expansions in it.
it does, yeah.
You know, already.
Yeah. So I think like that's sort of a thing that you in particular just aren't into expansions and stuff. So I think that that's partly a huge reason.
Yeah.
But
I think the production of it would have been the selling point.
Yeah.
You know, more than the extra goodies.
Sure.
Stuff for as far as the gameplay goes, but
yeah.
Anyway, this was the first time we played our copy of it actually since we got it, and it was really nice. We had to relearn a lot of the tiles and like
Yeah, we
symbols and
couldn't
stuff.
believe how much we forgot. Yeah.
Well, no, not just forgot, but they did change the iconography
They did, yeah.
from the original game, you know.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of custom building tiles and stuff that all do something different,
Yes.
and you basically like have to play with the rule book out to like look at all of them.
Right.
With the first one, after, you know, those half dozen plays, we pretty much had it down. We knew what they were. But since they were different than this one, again, yeah, we had to just like look it up every time one of those
Right.
tiles came up, right? I think now we'll have it down again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like re-cemented it, you know?
Yeah.
And this is the one that I think we'll probably pull out pretty often because it's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Overall, I'm just really happy that you did end up liking it, you know, and it maybe isn't typically your style, but it's a strategy game, and you can appreciate that, you know, and you get into it, and we have pretty close games and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, awesome.
Okay, so let's go to Japan. So this
All right.
one, I would love to go to Japan. Yeah, we could do that. So this is a game that I like often am looking to see like what games will be coming out too. And this was one that like I found out about that they were advertising coming out, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, something like that. Well before it actually came out, and I've just been like anticipating this game coming out. So we love to travel.
Yeah.
Ethan and I like, it's been a huge part of like my life forever, but it's also been a massive part of our relationship. So we've done a lot of traveling together. We've been to a lot of different places, and this is literally building an itinerary. Yeah, like planning a trip, which is like one of my favorite things to do, just in life. So it really, it's just so fun. You have like, so you have Monday through Saturday, you have different days that you're planning, and you're visiting 2 different cities, either Tokyo or Kyoto. And each time that you like go from one city to another, you have to take a train. So you have to make sure you like put little train tiles out. You're trying to match, there's certain like icons for cuisine or for shopping, or like different activities that you can do throughout the cities. And depending on like how many of those icons you get to move your like track so far, and get different points, and you get to like match the icons at the top.
This is a card selection game again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're interesting too because like it'll be like play 2 cards, pass 2, or you know, you get to like, you either get to get new cards or you get to like get the cards that were face down from the other person, which depending on what they discarded to you could like really mess with your strategy too.
I don't think you're seeing enough cards and like picking and choosing to really like do a reverse hate draft or anything like that, though. You know, it's just like
not necessarily.
It either
it's
works
just
out or
sort
it
of-
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think like, so we've played this at mainly 2-player. I think we've only played it once with 4 people.
Correct.
And the 4-player was like very different because I felt like at 2-player, you're always giving the same cards to the other person. So if they're always going for one city and you're kind of trying to go for that same city, they're going to end up discarding the other city, and that could mess you up.
Yeah, it's the difference between swapping back and forth or passing around a table.
Exactly.
You know.
And the passing, like with the 4 people, it changes directions too, partway through the game. And I think twice it changes directions. It's not difficult.
No.
It's very like easy to play, very like cozy game. But there is a lot of like, I feel like different strategies to trying to like get your icons to match and get your cities to match perfectly, and trying to create the best itinerary.
You probably won't get everything perfect the way that you're hoping.
Yes.
Right, like out of the 6 days, I guess you said, or whatever, right? Like, you're not going to nail them all. Again, you want to try to stay in like one city at a time as much as possible as well, so that you don't have to take extra trains. But like, you're probably going to have to take extra trains here and there. So,
Right.
you know, it's kind of making the best of what's available,
Yeah.
which is cool.
And for each day, like you're planning an itinerary of what you're doing. So you're going to try sushi, or you're going to some sort of show. And they all have like little like stories on them that tell you about that place too, which is like It's just very
the flavor
thematic.
of text and everything really comes through.
It really does. Yeah, it feels like you actually are kind of like traveling in Japan, and I feel like if we ever go to Japan, we should like maybe play this beforehand to help us plan our trip.
Nice. I want to say actually, another board game channel that's great, Monique and Naveen at Before You Play recently took a Japan trip, and I think they got some inspiration from some of the cards. I talked about that. Yeah,
I can see that.
go check them out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I agree. This is I really like this one. You know, I don't know if I was expecting to or not. I don't think I had any sort of like bias one way or another. But yeah, pretty much from the first play, I was like into it, and I enjoyed this play that we did as well. We definitely busted this one out half a dozen times or so by now, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Based on the title, like, let's go to Japan. I have a feeling there's probably going to be more things in this series with other locations.
There are, yeah.
Are there already?
Not yet, but I believe they're building more.
Yeah, it feels like Welcome To, which is like a roll and write game, that the original version being like Welcome to Your Favorite Home, but then they've done it many iterations, including Welcome to the Moon, even stuff like that. I think there'll probably be like a, let's go to, I don't know, Italy or something over the years. And I really like Japan as a place. It's definitely on my bucket list to travel to. So I don't know if the other ones would like speak to me quite as much as this either.
I think also this one, like, so in one of our other videos, we talked about the game Canvas, and that like you can kind of this one sort of reminds me of Canvas because you can play to like the icons that you're trying to get and like trying to get like the objectives, but also like a lot of times people just play for what the painting's creating and how pretty it is and stuff. And I think that
in this case, like what activities you're doing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I feel like that can kind of happen with this one where you're kind of like, well, this sounds like a much cooler activity. I've definitely chosen one like over that just because I'm like, these are kind of similar, but this one sounds more fun.
I
so
would
I'll choose
never,
that. But no, I mean, it does feel like you're making an itinerary, and like for my like type A brain where like I'm such an organizer and I love like planning trips and stuff, like this is just, I feel like this game was made for me. It's just a great one. Yeah,
it's a great one.
It's very unique, and like I said, it's a theme that just really speaks to me.
All right, well, there's our 10 games to round out the 20 that we played in March. It was a great month.
Oh yeah,
like
it was.
Obviously we were pretty high on like most of the games that we talked about in this. The Gameathon ones were great too, especially because we got to play those with some friends that we had over and everything and get like a different experience out of them. But more importantly, like as far as accomplishing this yearly challenge, this was also a great month in the sense that we played some heavier games, right? We played some like longer games that you might not always get to the table. We played some new to us games.
Yeah.
We played some games where you like need extra players to like really want to play it, right? That would be hard just for Ashley and us. You know, if it gets down to like the end of December and it's only the two of us, it's like, oh, are we going to play whatever?
We need to recruit some people.
Yeah, right. So it felt like just good accomplishments that, and I think moving into April.
We had a great variety this month. Yeah. I feel like we really played like, you know, some months we've been like, oh, we got to hit like a couple of short ones just because we need to try to like get the numbers up. But this month was just like, I feel like we did a great job of just playing what we wanted to play, but also getting like a great variety in there too. Moving
into April, we might take the opportunity to replay some stuff that we've been doing this year as well, right? Because with this challenge, obviously there's a tendency to try to go wide, try to get more things checked off the list when it comes time to like sit down and decide, well, what do you want to play? Well, you know, Ashley's like, I really want to play Distilled again. You know, I've been dying to play Distilled. We only did that like one time, and
Right.
And I'm like, oh, we should probably do something new, get our numbers up, you know?
Yeah, but just kind of like a little bit of replay because we do have a little bit of wiggle room. So maybe April.
That's a good way to play, yes. That's what I was looking for.
A little bit lighter.
We'll use that wiggle room to, you know, hopefully get some like repeat plays of some of the new stuff that we've tried out earlier this year.
Right.
Yeah. We're feeling good about March. Hopefully you're feeling good about this video and that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. That way you won't miss whatever we come up with at the end of April. Right?
And in case you like haven't seen our previous videos, we do have an Excel spreadsheet that we will link below as well that you can actually follow the games as we're playing them, and you can see our entire collection and how we're doing.
We're not perfect about tracking it, but we try to keep it updated in real time as we're like getting things to the table and everything. Yep.
So,
all right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Game on.
Game on.